Hello and welcome to the Village of Menominee Falls election official training for the spring election on April 5th, 2022. My name is Amy Vanderhyde, Deputy Village Clerk, and I will be going through your training today. All polling locations will be open this election. Our split wards will be located in Ward 1 in Good Shepherd, Ward 18, Davians, and Ward 23 at Gloria Day. These are all school district splits. We do have new ward maps from the redistricting, so please check them out. This is why all of the numbers have changed per polling location. For this election, no drop boxes for absentee ballots may be used. Voters may either mail back their ballot or bring their ballot to Village Hall Clerk Services counter. They may not bring in anybody else's ballot but their own. This is just a slide that will show you our new redistricting map with all of our wards per polling location. You can look this over. We also will have the additional large maps that will be at your polling places on election day for you to view. Going over the polling places for those who were not able to work the last election, we now have wards 1, 2, 3, and 4 at Good Shepherd Church, wards 5, 6, and 7 at Menominee Falls Public Library, wards 8 and 9 at the fire station number 3. This is our newest polling location. 10, 11, and 12 at Holy Cross. 13 and 14 at Prince of Peace Lutheran Church. 15, 16, 17, and 18 at Davians Banquet and Conference Center. 19, 20, 21, and 22 at St. James Catholic Church. And 23 and 24 at Gloria Day Lutheran Church. Like the last election, we're going to keep our address listings with this coloration. So they're colored for the school districts. Voters in Menominee Falls are in green. Voters in Hamilton will be in white. Election day. Voters may need additional help getting to their correct polling places. Why this has happened? The April, August, and November elections in 2020 were at different polling places each time. And now in 2020 redistricting, for the 2020 redistricting, we have changed our ward maps here in 2022. This has changed where some people vote. Provide help to these voters. Use the address listings and ward maps provided to help determine their correct polling place. If able and the voter is registered to vote at their current address, the voter can use myvote.wi.gov to look up their polling place and get the address and directions to where they need to vote. If you do have questions or concerns on election day, please see your chief inspector and they should be able to help you out. Election officials may not wear political apparel or discuss candidates' politics while working. Please report any concerns to your chief inspector. If you do not work at your specified polling place and wish to vote, you may vote by absentee either at Clerk Services Hall yet this week until Friday, April 1st. Request one by mail or online before March 31st at myvote.wi.gov. Personal protective equipment. The village will provide the following items: face masks, protective face shields, hand sanitizer, gloves, and wipes. We will not be enforcing that everybody use all of these, but we do encourage all voters and workers to follow the CDC guidelines. If you'd like to read more about this, please follow this web address below. Absentee drop-off. Voters cannot drop off their absentee ballot at the polling places, for we have central count. So what do you do when a voter walks into the polling place on election day and wants to drop their ballot off? Direct the voter to Village Hall. That is located at West 156, North 8480 Pilgrim Road. The counter at Clerk Services will be open to accept absentee ballots until 8 p.m. All absentee ballots must be received by 8 p.m. on election day in order to be counted. Please do not accept any absentee ballots at the polling location. Reviewing photo ID. Election inspectors will review the photo ID for photograph, name, and expiration date. We are not looking to see if it has their current address on it, and we are not looking at voter signatures compared to the poll list. That is what you do for registration, is check their address and allow them to register. Now you're making sure it's who they are to be able to vote. This is just a sheet showing some of the acceptable forms of photo IDs. These include Wisconsin driver's license, U.S. uniform service license, U.S. passport, book, or card, Wisconsin driver state ID or IDPP receipt, Wisconsin state ID, a Veterans Affairs ID card, certificate of naturalization, a tribal ID, or university, college, tech college ID card with enrollment verification. This is the updated proof of identification list. I won't go through all of these, but please read these over before Election Day. These are ones that you will be able to accept at the poll book table. The free ID identification card petition process. If somebody comes in without their driver's license or does not have one, they can get an ID for voting easily through the DMV office. Any voter who comes in without an ID must be given this sheet so that they are able to go get an ID to come back and vote on Election Day. If somebody comes in without their ID, please alert the chief inspector to come help with this situation. All right, poll lists. Here we have a sample of what a poll list will look like. As you can see highlighted in yellow, you will see that there are words that are absentee issued and absentee returned. These notations will be in the poll book to allow you to know if somebody has received an absentee and if they've returned it or not. These should be as up to date as they can be. If someone comes in and states that they have not returned their absentee, but it is noted that they have, please contact your chief inspector so they can get a hold of us, and we'll dig into it to see if they've truly returned their absentee or not. Those who have absentee issued, we'll go over the next slide what you should be asking them. So what to do when the absentee says issued? Check the absentee log in the back of the book to see if it says filed. Ask the voter if they've returned their ballot. If they have mailed their ballot back or brought it to clerk services, that is returning their ballot. If they say yes, they are not allowed to vote. If they say no, contact your chief inspector so we can verify that there was no ballot returned at central count. What to do if the notation says absentee returned? The voter cannot vote again. Their absentee ballot was received by clerk services. If the voter feels that there's discrepancy, again, please contact your chief inspector. Don't just turn the voter away. What is ERIC? Electronic Registration Information Center. The Wisconsin Election Commission is asking chief inspectors and poll workers to follow the steps on Election Day when checking in poll workers at the list table. So why is this used? To identify voters who may have moved from their current address. Poll lists will look like below and have this notation if they have been marked as though they have possibly moved. If you see a "have you moved," ask the voter if they have moved to a new location. If they have, they will have to re-register. If not, they can vote and just sign at the line or in the box, and they will be taken off the ERIC movers list. So here are different scenarios. So if you ask them if they have moved and they say yes, they still live at the address in the poll list, then the voter must sign the poll list and continue the check-in process. If they say no, they have moved and not at the same address, advise the voter that they will need to complete an Election Day registration form at their new address. All registration requirements are still the same. If it was a typo on their address in the poll list, note the address correction on the poll list. Do not write over the name or address of the voter. Then continue the check-in process. Please let your chief inspectors know if you have any of these typo addresses. Express vote ballots. Please see the example on the left of the express vote ballot. Note initials from the chief inspector will go on the left side lower section. And the ballots for the DS200 are on the right, where you will be marking it by both of your election officials at the poll book tables. So there is several lines for you to be able to do your initials on by ballot issued by. Overvoted ballots. The machine will let you know, it will beep if we have an overvoted ballot. Please do not let the voter leave unless you can tell that their ballot has gone into the machine. If there's an overvoted ballot, please get your chief inspector to help you with this. As you can see on the screen, this is what it will look like. And what you should see on a ballot is they have marked more than the allotted number of candidates to be marked. Initialing ballots. You may not initial ballots before the voter has checked in at the poll list table. The reasons for this are the Wisconsin Election Commission does not allow this practice. This would leave you with live ballot stock that could be left on a table. If the polling place needed to be evacuated quickly, these are live ballots. If 2 ballots were accidentally given to a voter by mistake, the voter now would be able to have 2 live ballots to put in the tabulator DS200, and this would allow them to vote twice. We want to make sure that we don't have any irregularities with your numbers. Making sure we don't initial ahead of time will help you with that. End of the day ballot bagging. There are no requirements to bag the ballots by ward. Ballots will be bagged by polling location. You may have to use multiple bags. We want you to just put as many as you can in, but not overstuffing the bags. You do need to look for write-ins before bagging them and do any tallies on a tally sheet if necessary. As of March 28th, there are no registered write-in candidates. Chief inspectors will be notified if any registered write-in candidates are allotted ahead of election day. Any party represented poll worker must sign these ballot bags, and the ballot bag seal numbers will be written on the inspector statements. Curbside voting. If a voter is unable to enter the polling place, voters can register and vote using curbside voting. Chief inspectors will direct the election officials on how to administer the curbside voting. Election inspectors must announce that the elector has requested a curbside voting. 2 inspectors perform this task together. All proof of residency and photo ID documents must stay with the voter at the curb. Do not take them into the polling place with you. Voter registration. Please see the table on the right of all of the common scenarios with a voter registration. Voters must be registered and must have lived at their current address in the village at least 28 days prior to the election. For this election, that would be March 8th of 2022. If they have not lived there for that amount of time, they will have to go back to where they previously lived to vote. Please make sure to go through this scenario listing on the right side and get familiar with it. If you want to learn more, please visit www.myvote.wi.gov or visit our website. The Election Commission's website is listed below as well. If you have any questions or concerns, please email us at the addresses listed on the main page. We thank you for sitting through training today, and we will see you on April 5th.